Hi! So it's been a minute since I've uploaded. I'm sorry about that. As many of you, if you keep up with my videos, probably already know, I recently started a new job, an in-person job. So it's been very consuming and definitely taking some time to adjust to. And on top of that, I'm actually moving next week, which I will talk a little bit more about maybe in a future video. But needless to say, my plate has been very full and I have been incredibly busy, hence the lack of uploads. But today we are back because I am just dying to talk to you about what has been inspiring me for this fall and all the beauty and style trends, all that sort of stuff that I will be experimenting with and having fun with as the temperatures get cooler. It's already starting to feel like fall where I live, which I'm so overjoyed about. It is easily my favorite time of year, not just because I enjoy the season and all of the festivities, but also because I personally think it is the best time for fashion. Since it's not too hot and it's not too cold, I feel like there's such freedom in how you can dress. Also, all of the spooky vibes and just seasonal changes really inspire me and give me such a fresh source of inspiration when it comes to how I get dressed every day. If you are new to my channel or you haven't seen one of my seasonal trend videos, what I always do is curate like a gigantic Pinterest board with fashion, photography, art, makeup, you name it, and then sort of create a list of trends out of all of that inspo. So these fall trends that I will be chatting about today are more like what I've been into and enjoying and less like overarching trends that you see online, that kind of thing. I can't wait to get into it, but first I want to chat with you about some really cute and really cool accessories that I will be sporting this fall. Thanks to today's sponsor, Vooglam. They have kindly sent me 4 pairs of glasses and 1 pair of sunglasses to try on for you all, but they've actually got some really great sales and a lot of fun things happening as they are presently celebrating their 8th anniversary. I'll tell you a bit more about that in just a moment after we take a look at all of these gorgeous frames. To start, we have the Langley glasses in the color purple. These are so fun and unique, and I absolutely adore that like retro cat eye shape, but that bold purple color and the hint of rainbow iridescence on the corner adds such a fun modern touch to the look. The acetate frames help them feel luxurious and sturdy, and I love how they sit on my face comfortably with no need for adjustment. They also sit a good distance from my face, so they don't interfere with my makeup or lashes, so there's plenty of room and space to play around with that sort of thing. I think these frames are really versatile, but they really make me want to play around with like vintage and retro styles. I think a little tie blouse or like a little handkerchief around your neck would look so cute with these. Very cute, very chic. Next, I am wearing these Starlust oval frames in the color two-tone, and these are so perfect and fun for this time of year. They're this really beautiful mix of colors, ranging in shades of blue, green, and purple. And then they have these amazing celestial details, like the design that goes across the side of the glasses, all the little stars and constellations. And then they have these cute little stars right in the front. These frames are so comfortable. I barely feel them on, but they're still really sturdy and well made. The color palette and star details really make me think of whimsy goth and witchier styles, which again is perfect for fall time. So I think it would be so cool to try a look like within that kind of aesthetic. Maybe pair it with like a corset, a velvet maxi skirt, some kind of witchy blouse within those colors, like a rich, gorgeous purple top with these. This pair is so inspiring with the looks that you could come up with just based around them. Third, I am wearing the Escobar glasses in the color pink, and man, are these bright and fun and such a bold statement. I love the mix of styles happening here, and the shape is kind of retro, but the fun, bright, translucent pink is like sort of contemporary. They remind me of a lot of things that you would see in like the 90s, 2000s, sort of clear, translucent objects you would see often. So I think it'd be really fun to style them with that sort of concept in mind, but the classic shape still makes them very wearable for day to day and completely functional. I could picture them with like a fun, sparkly graphic t-shirt, maybe a mini skirt, some chunky boots, but they would still look super polished paired with something a bit more like work appropriate, like a button-up blouse, a pencil skirt, but they would add such a fun, colorful, eclectic pop to the look. I have one more pair to show you and then a pair of sunglasses, and these are the spine glasses in the color gray. These are really outside of my comfort zone, but I absolutely could not resist these. The dark metal frame is so cool and futuristic, and I absolutely love the side details of these glasses. The detailing is absolutely gorgeous. They look like thorny rose stems with a hint of like cyber and futuristic aesthetics. And then they have this pretty little gemstone placed right in the middle, which kind of softens and rounds out the look. But these glasses are definitely on the edgier side, but still, you know, classic, polished. I really never thought I could pull off frames like these in the past, but I'm really glad that I decided to give them a go because I think they're so beautiful and they're so different from what I tend to wear. So I like that they give me a very different style option. They're super comfortable to wear and I like the minimal aspect of them. It makes it really easy to mix and match them with all sorts of colors and styles. I would love to style these in like a bayonetta edgy kind of way, like a very sophisticated gothic kind of look, but it would be really fun to experiment with these in a very like contrasting kind of way, like a really frilly feminine blouse. I really love these. I think they're very cool. And they also have adjustable nose pads, which is a little nice functional piece to them as well. Finally, I am wearing the Jacinda cat eye sunglasses in the color black, and I just adore these. They're so chic and stylish, and I think endlessly timeless, extremely comfortable, but also very functional. So they're not just a fashion piece. I could see these doing a very efficient job at actually protecting your eyes from the sun during the day. They're very minimal and classic, but there's also this fun little gold heart detail on the side of the frames that I think adds a little bit of playfulness. Very subtle, but very cute. And all around, I feel very cool and glamorous in these glasses, and I'm really excited to have these in my wardrobe now. I think these could be styled with literally anything and they'd look so effortlessly cool and polished, but I would really like to try them out with like a red lip, maybe like a scarf tied around my neck, maybe a little slip dress, something like that. I love the classic like retro vibes, and I could just see myself wearing these for years to come. From September 10th to September 24th, Vooglam is celebrating their 8th anniversary, as I mentioned earlier. During this period, prices are among the best of the year, and purchasing a prescription frame gives you a chance to receive a free pair of sunglasses like these, as well as a custom bracelet. If you're interested in picking up some glasses and a chance to win some free goodies, you can use my code Kendall25 for 25% off your order. Thank you so much to Vooglam for all of the amazing glasses and for sponsoring this video. So, now that I have showed you all those cute accessories, it is finally time to get into my list of fall 2025 trends. As always, the Pinterest board will be linked in the description below. If you would like to follow me on Instagram, that is also linked below. There's lots of pictures, lots of inspo, so pour through it, save some for yourself. But I've curated 5 sort of trend categories amongst all the inspo. By first, I am titling 90s vamp. Vamp is short for vampire. And all around just a vampy, sort of sexier, moodier kinds of styles. Obviously with a 90s twist and influence there. So when I say 90s vamp, I mean a sultry eye, a dark lip, I think like pin straight hair or big dramatic curls, maybe something a little bit slicked back. Maybe you're being pulled to the side with a little clip, ponytails, those sorts of styles, sort of the beauty trends and ideas that come to mind for me. All around beauty and hair that feels really dark and moody, but kind of sexy at the same time, and still has this kind of glamorous edginess to it. As far as clothing goes, you know, your really typical 90s silhouettes, so boxy kinds of things, mini skirts, slip dresses, tank tops. You know, although it is fall, I think like playing around and layering with those kinds of silhouettes will be fun and provide enough warmth. And also where I live, it doesn't get like cold until later on. So I definitely think you could, you know, rock a slip dress with some knee-high boots, that kind of thing for quite a while before you need to start covering up more. But I love like hints of lace like I'm wearing right now. I love mesh and see-through, those kinds of materials. They add a bit of edginess, a bit of sultriness to the look, just paired with like a dark smoky eye, red lip. I think it's just like a knockout kind of style. I of course always gravitate towards, you know, a bit of a moodier palette when it becomes fall. I think a lot of us do, but more particularly I'm into like those neutrals, blacks and browns and grays, really deep, rich blues and purples, those sorts of shades, like deep red colors, like oxblood, maroon, those sorts of colors. You know, sort of a simple, minimalist look paired with like a bold makeup and hair look. I think it's just really striking. I think it's really timeless. And it's sort of like a go-to style for me when I want to feel like sophisticated and hot and put together. So 90s vamp is definitely an area of style that I will be playing around with this fall. My next trend, which, you know, kind of goes into that. There is a lot of overlap. Like I said, I created from a big board, so a lot of the themes and concepts kind of like intertwine together. But this next one I am referring to as dark romantic, and I've discussed this in previous videos with trends that I love and enjoy, but these sort of like circusy harlequin prints we've been seeing, the large polka dots, I'm still totally into that, very, very into it. But I think like taking that concept and expanding upon it a little bit, being a little bit more theatrical with it, but still keeping that hint of romance in mind. Like with the 90s vamp look, it's sort of a romantic feeling, but this category kind of leans a bit more whimsical, a little bit more silly and playful. Again, textures like ruffles, lace, those kinds of things can be implemented, but silhouettes like bubble skirts, tutus, tie neck blouses, those are fun things to incorporate. Adding a sense of drama, like I said, keeping that romantic feeling in mind, so materials like lace, silk, that sort of thing. Although I've straightened my hair today and I do like to play around with straightening it a lot, I'm trying to embrace my natural hair texture a little bit more, which is like wavy, curly-ish. So I think bold, dramatic styles, like incorporating your natural hair texture is really beautiful. And just something about like, you know, a little pin or clip just, you know, put in there with your bangs. It just looks gorgeous to me, especially paired with like the right makeup look. I think those kinds of hairstyles feel incredibly romantic. You can edge it up with like black materials, different kinds of metal and hardware, deep purples and reds, as I've mentioned. I think Chapel Roan's like kind of newest tour era aesthetics, that's like a great place to pull inspiration from. I've been loving a lot of the looks she's been putting together. That also really ties into the 90s vamp thing, I think, as well. But yeah, I think silk and texture, fun patterns, deep, rich colors, those are the sorts of things that come to mind when I think dark romantic. All around though, like playing around with this kind of concept of femininity, more feminine styles just edged up quite a bit. And also, you know, with a hint of whimsy in there. My next trend category I'm referring to as girly grunge. Again, there is quite a lot of overlap within these trends. I'm trying not to sound too repetitive and redundant here, but it is, you know, girly grunge. Think of grunge styles like ripped fishnets, flannels, baggy jeans, but then you pair it with like a really cute feminine hairstyle, maybe some really girly nails, that kind of thing. I think the fun juxtaposition feels very balanced, very natural and casual. My style tends to not lean any one direction too much in particular. I like to blend a lot of different styles and aesthetics. I like to experiment with getting dressed. And today I would say I'm kind of incorporating a lot of the different trend styles that I'm talking about. But, you know, taking this sort of almost grungy, lacy top and pairing it on this like really delicate white top. I think mixing pieces like this helps to make looks feel really balanced, and I've been really liking sort of a balanced look, as you can tell so far by these trends. You know, sweetness mixed with edginess, darkness blended with a bit of romance. That's kind of the things that I have been gravitating to when it comes to fashion and beauty. But girly grunge definitely leans on the more casual side of things, you know, like wearing ripped jeans and embellishing them, I don't know, with like a little bit of lace or something like that, pairing them with ballet flats, but incorporating like edgy nails and jewelry and hair, maybe a little delicate baby doll top, but paired with like some cargo pants or like a ripped denim skirt. There's a lot of ways that you can approach it. You can approach all of these in, you know, any way you choose, as I would encourage you to. My trend videos are not meant to be overly specific. They're just meant to be sort of an inspiration for you, you know, space in which to play around and get your own ideas and think about how you want to approach your wardrobe and style. Girly grunge generally is just like a kind of a normal part of my style always, but really playing up that grunge element this fall is something I want to do. You know, I've been inspired by like my younger self a lot and the things I was into previously, kind of reconnecting with those parts of myself. So it's fun to like incorporate those sorts of things into my style now, but in sort of a more, you know, feminine, grown-up way, which is, you know, how I feel now. But I love pairing things with other things that feel like, you know, they shouldn't go together. I love a playful juxtaposition. Girly grunge kind of like epitomizes that to me. It's not too edgy, it's not too sweet, it's not too serious. It's kind of everything meeting at a nice, you know, midpoint. My next trend I am referring to as Tweo revival. And kind of like with girly grunge, this is playing into a lot of what I've enjoyed when I was younger and kind of where it meets to who I am now, like in my adulthood. And I never really heard the term Twemo thrown around until somewhat recently, which is kind of genius because I'm like, that's how I describe my style, Twemo. Because I'm not quite like fully twee, I'm not quite fully emo, and like girly grunge, I'm kind of like a mix of styles. I follow somewhere kind of in the middle. So Tweemo, I think, is like a really fun term that kind of encompasses, you know, the various styles. And then revival, of course, because I do feel like these styles are kind of coming back into the forefront, but also revival in the sense like it's my adult take on these styles now. But Tweemo, Twee, emo. Twee is very like retro vintage inspired. There are lots of quirky little motifs like owls and telephones, color palettes that include a lot of like red, green, kind of bright, happy shades, lots of fun patterns like polka dots, Mary Janes, ballet flats, knee-high socks, sort of whimsical, girly, manic pixie dream girl, if you will. But those kinds of styles, emo, at least you know the way I grew up with it, was more in the time era of like MySpace, that kind of thing. So skinny jeans, Converse, band tees, smudged eyeliner, you know, drawing shapes on your face and on your hands, you know, dyed hair, fingerless gloves, that kind of thing. Lots of stripes, fishnets. And I think Tweemo is such a fun way, sort of like girly grunge, to like meet those two styles together. And there is quite a lot of overlap there, which you see when you kind of start to explore the styles together. And again, it's just a style trend that feels very me. I enjoy like quirky motifs and retro silhouettes and that kind of thing. But I also have this alternative, edgy flair to my style that I've had since, you know, forever. But it still allows me to like access this girlier feminine part of my style and still play around with, you know, the edgier, darker bits. It marries the two in a way that feels like very fun and playful and effortless. So like wearing a little vintage blouse and mini skirt, but you pair it with like knee-high Converse and like a striped bag or something. I think there's so many fun ways to blend the styles together. And all around, I want to like make more of an effort to do some Tweemo looks. Maybe I'll do a Tweemo lookbook in the future. But after I heard that term, I was like, wow, that makes perfect sense. They go so perfectly together. And so I will definitely be rocking, you know, lots of Tweemo looks this fall. And my last trend I'm referring to as modern vintage. Again, sort of in theme with the previous categories. It's sort of a modernized, more updated adult take on something from the past. So a lot of people think of different things when they think of modern and vintage. And what I mean specifically is, you know, taking that retro and vintage inspiration, but contemporizing it. Is that a word? Contemporizing? Making it more contemporary. But I love like different retro silhouettes. I wear a lot of like actual vintage in my day to day, but I'm not one to like rock a vintage look head to toe necessarily or go like completely decked out in a specific era. So I think it's fun to blend it in with modern fashion and modern life. And a lot of like vintage retro styles, while it is extremely cute, it's not necessarily the most like wearable or functional every day. So taking elements of that and throwing it into your style and kind of modernizing it, I think is like a cool, realistic way to kind of incorporate vintage and retro. But I love stripes. I love polka dots, as I've mentioned. Love plaid right now. I love anything kind of like A-line mini skirts, A-line dresses, that kind of thing. I love buttons, scarves, denim jackets, sort of like work boots. I've been really obsessed with clogs as well. I thrifted a pair and I never thought like I could wear shoes like that just because I'm such a klutz. But they're actually fairly easy to walk in and they're really, really cute. And I've been really gravitated towards those kind of shoes ever since. I think those are adorable for fall. Pair them with some thick winter socks. I think that's so cute and cozy. Love the idea of like kind of wearing socks with heels in general. But yeah, just pulling inspiration from vintage and retro, but making it feel a little bit more modern, a little bit more present day. Love funky, chic sunglasses, like the cat eye ones I have. I think there's a lot of like really easy, seamless ways to make your clothes and outfits have a vintage feel. And while I still like love to dress up and everything, I definitely am in a sort of like more low-key place with my style at the moment. I think mostly just because my life is so hectic right now. So it's been fun like trying to figure out how to make an outfit pop and look good with minimal pieces, minimal accessories, that kind of thing. So I think like really intentionally choosing your pieces to have like a vintage look, that can be helpful. You have a cool piece or two to style. It's like very effortlessly stylish, very casual, very cool. So I like the idea of incorporating vintage and retro in that sort of like almost dressed down kind of way. So that wraps up my list of fall trends, things that have been inspiring me lately, styles I want to play around with this fall. I would love to know if any of it speaks to you personally. And of course, as always, I would love to know what is inspiring you. What sorts of things have you been looking at? How are you planning to dress this fall? Again, I'm very sorry that it's been so long since I've uploaded. I actually have another video coming out for you this month, so just stay tuned for that. Schedule might be a little bit up and down, but I plan to get back into some kind of groove here soon. I have a lot going on in my life and waiting for certain things to settle. But as I said, yes, video coming up very soon. Keep your eyes out for that. And hopefully after that, I will not disappear for as long. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to check out Vooglam, help celebrate their 8th anniversary, get some cute glasses, maybe some free goodies for yourself. All of that will be linked below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, all this stuff really helps out the channel. And with all that said, I hope you are enjoying your fall season so far. We're not quite into fall, but almost. I hope you're having a good time regardless. That you're enjoying things being less hot, because I know I am. Now I will stop blabbing and wrap up this video. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!